Hello and welcome to another video. Today marks the second part of our data science project series, in which we are going over firstly how to start a project, in particular in PyCharm in this case, and then we will go over how to use Git and GitHub in order to save the code, as well as make it available for other contributors to join in on your project. So with that, let's jump right into the project and get going. Alright, with that we find ourselves in the PyCharm editor again. In this video I will not explain how to download PyCharm. I will have a link in the video description below, so you can just follow the instructions there. I will just have it as a prerequisite that you have installed PyCharm. So with that, let's jump right into it, and we want to start a new project, and we do that by going to File and then New Project. So let's name our project. Let's call it My First Python Dashboard, and select the interpreter. Per default, it should select the latest available interpreter that you have. In my case, it is Python 3.10, and let's use that. And with that, you have basically the developer environment for a Python project ready to go. So let's say our first little project is Hello World, and now we want to use Git. So what is Git? Git is a version control system that allows you to save your code in case something bad happens. If you accidentally delete a file or do some errors in your code and you want to roll back, for that you have Git. And the Git sort of system we are going to use is called GitHub. GitHub is a website that lets you save your code in the cloud, basically. So then you can not only work on it yourself, but you can also make it available to other developers. So let's start with that and go to GitHub. So I am automatically logged in, as you can see, but you will have to have a GitHub account to be able to use the service, obviously. So once you have done that, let's go to your repositories. And then you see a long list of repositories that I have created and worked on. And we want to create a new repository. Yeah, let's call it My First Python Dashboard. Why not? Give it a little description. This is my first data science project with Python. Yeah, let's have it at public so that other people can see it. Let's not add a README file right here. Let's do it later. You can add git ignore files. A git ignore file is a set of rules for types of files that should not be included when you push your code to GitHub. This sometimes can be CSV files that have sensitive information, that can be files with passwords, for example, that can be uninteresting files that are just notes for yourself, stuff like that. You can choose a template. You have various different ones. There is a template for Python as well, and we will use that in this case. You can also choose a different license. License are how you allow other people to use your code. So there's, for example, licenses that allow your code to be also used commercially or just privately. If you are interested in that, I cannot give you a great explanation of those. I usually just leave it blank for now. So with that, let's click on Create Repository, and then we have created our first little repository here. And now we want to create the Git folder in our project and use GitHub for that. So let's jump into that point now. All right, back in the editor, we want to, in my case, it is Alt-T. I'm not sure if that's if that's a shortcut that's always in PyCharm, or if I've configured that. But you want to go to terminal, which is also here below. Here it says Alt F12 should also work. So the first thing that we have to do in order to add a project to GitHub, or Git in that instance, is call git init. Git init initializes the empty Git repository, as it says here, and in the path where it is created. So now you can see we are in the master branch of our project, and there's various files that are now in PyCharm, for example, lit up red. Red means they are not added to Git. We add them by calling git add dot. So now we have added the files and they are green. Green means that the files are added to Git, but are not pushed to the Git, or like they are not committed to the next push that is going to your version control system. So we do that next by calling git commit -m. -m means message, and because it's the first commit, we can say initialized. Yes, git commit -m. So we have created the commit. You can edit your configuration file with the author, for example, and some custom settings if you're interested in that. We are not going to do that right now. What you can see, we have created various files. Some of them are from the .idea folder. The .idea folder is a specific folder for PyCharm that saves configurations of your editor. So various shortcuts, for example, that you have made, or other configurations, but that's not interesting. What's interesting is we have also committed the file main.py, our project file here. So the next step after git commit is pushing the code to your GitHub repository, and you do that by calling git push.u origin master. No, wait, actually that's not true. You first have to add the remote repository, and you do that by git remote add origin, and now you have to use your git link of, now I have to pull that up again, your repository. Your repository has a specific link, and you can get that if you go to your repository code and then to the green code button. And here I use a SSH key to access GitHub, and here you can copy the whole link to your project. So I want to add that, and then git remote add origin and the link to your repository. We have done that now, and now we go to git push .u remote origin. I have done a mistake. Yeah, git push.u origin master. I cannot write. All right, there we go. So now we see that we have created a push. That means we have uploaded our code to the repository on GitHub, and we can check that if you go here. So you have here the git ignore file. You are currently in main, but you want to go into the master branch that you have just pushed. And here you have the main.py and the idea folder. Do not worry about different branches now. If you create the repository in GitHub itself, it will start with the main branch. If you start with it, but you can name it any other way. We can immediately remove the main branch. Branches are basically different versions of your code that you can use to develop new features without breaking the old code, and then merging, which means connecting two branches to each other, so that the master branch, which is usually the most up-to-date version, the most working version, is then updated with a new feature. We will not go into detail with that now. That is up for a next video. What you have learned now is basically you have created a GitHub account, you have created a PyCharm project, and you have pushed your code to GitHub, which allows you to save the code in the cloud. So in the next video, we will go over specifically working with branches, creating the branch structure that we want, create a README file as well, maybe with some notes of what we have to do. And then we will do our first little Python dashboard. So be excited for that. Until next one, thank you very much and bye bye.